We are live. What is up? I am Adam. That is Miles. That's Mike. And that is Cyrus. And we are three dudes in the football plus one tonight. And we're going to get right into it. We're going to go right into the 17th game. It has now been officially accepted and voted on, and whatever you want to say. The owners approved it. And we now have a 17th regular season game, which means no more will anybody get a 7-9 record. That's
Poor
it.
Jeff Fisher.
Yep.
Oh, what a Fisher shot.
Isn't it though? Thank you. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I believe, Mike, I don't believe you are too excited about it, are you?
Me, I'm kind of indifferent. I think it's going to change a lot of how the records are broken here shortly. Like, the Eric Dickerson record that everybody was chasing, the single season rushing record. Now that's really attainable. I mean, Derrick Henry would have busted that this year if he stayed on the same pace for one more game. And, a lot of backs in recent years that have gone over 2,000 probably would have broken it. So that record's going to fall. The Jerry Rice records for catches and I mean, all of these things are now kind of in play to change with the extra game. I mean, other than that, I don't know. I mean, there may be some positives to it, but I think too much of a good thing is not quite a good thing.
I'll tell you the first positive is it adds an extra week of fantasy football.
Does that?
That is the utmost positive thing that I find to deal with it. Other than that, I mean, I find it to be unsettling simply because it's not an even number, and but
I'm with you on that. I don't care for the 17 games. Keep it 16 or 18, or just leave it alone. Would this
now a team cannot finish 500?
No, they're either above or below 500.
That's weird.
Makes no sense.
And see, now they're the only pro sports league that has a prime number as the number of regular season games, which will force a lot of people to be unsettled. There's a lot of OCD like us out here that don't like it.
I think it's very much more common for people to not like odd numbers. I mean, as stupid as that sounds, but no, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. We need patterns here, people. You can't have a pattern with 17. What is wrong with you? Oh, God damn it. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
They are all the leagues, the NFL probably was the only one that could have added a game. I mean, basketball and hockey, you play 82. Baseball, you play 162 of the darn things.
Oh, God. Yeah.
No kidding. 17 compared to that doesn't seem all that bad.
But it's still but the other numbers are even.
I don't like the idea of a team now going. When I think of records, I always assume it's 16 games. I can't even add the extra number in my head. It's weird.
It's definitely going to mess with. It's going to mess with the like Mike was just saying, the Eric Dickerson. I mean, anything past this, if you break a single season record, it's not going to hold nearly as much weight as it used to. I mean, especially back in the 70s when it was a 14 season game.
I used to quantify the difference between a good and great team at 11 and 10. Right? A good team was 9 wins, 10 wins. And a great team was after 11 wins.
Yeah.
So now 10 and 6 and 11 and 6. Is 11 and 6 still just okay?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think it goes up. I think it goes higher now. I think it's more like 12 or 13 now. I think you're right. I don't think 11 is the same as it was.
Well, you know what? Also, with this kind of wonky math is the fact that now you have 17 games, but you also have 7 teams in the playoffs on each side. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to talk about even numbers and not having those. There's that. But then on the top of the fact that now you have 14 teams that can get in. And because it's over 17 games, you now potentially could have more teams with a losing record, or I guess it would have to be a losing record because you can't have 500 technically unless you have a tie now. But you have more of these sorry teams get in the playoffs because there's more of a chance for them to lose games. As much as there's a chance for other teams to win, you still will have the top, the top couple teams. They're only going to they'll be 14-3 now instead of 14-2 or whatever. But the bottom teams, you may have instead of a 7-9 team, I guess it'd be 7-10. It's very possible to have a team 3 games under 500 now get in the playoffs because of the formats on both sides.
You could very well see the NFC East put up a team like that next year.
Oh, every year.
Now the Giants will be back next year, man.
Okay.
Yeah, they will.
Resounding vote of confidence.
No, I mean, out of all the teams that are in that division, I see them being able to. Well, I don't know, Washington.
Washington. I think.
Yeah, Washington. I mean, they made it to the fucking playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
What was their record? Were they 7-9 or were they 500?
No,
they
they
were
were.
8-8.
Yeah.
Were they 8-8?
I think
Well,
so.
I didn't think they were. I thought they had a losing
They're right in
record.
that range.
I mean, it sucks that a team that's 7-9 gets to host a playoff game, or especially if it's. I mean, can you imagine a 7-10 team hosting an NFL game?
I love it.
You are right, Adam. They were below 500. They were 7-9.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I thought.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, some would argue one of the greatest playoff moments of all time, though, the Beast Quake.
Yes.
Absolutely.
People forget about that team.
No, I was just going to bring that up when we were talking about it. The only 7-9 team that really did anything was put New Orleans out in the first round. And dude, that run where Hasselbeck went down there and blocked for Marshawn, that was one of the greatest plays I've ever seen live.
Which wouldn't
That
have happened
team
if they'd
deserves
been
a little bit of an asterisk.
Oh, definitely not. It
Because,
would
yes,
not have happened.
they went 7-9, yes, but Matt Hasselbeck was hurt a good portion of the year. They had some injuries on defense. They had a lot of injuries, and they got healthy just in time for the playoffs. They were
in
a
a
10
shitty division.
Oh, and they were in one of the worst divisions in football history.
Yeah.
No, I dig it, man, because they had to win that last game of the season to get in. That was cool. So it was almost like they won 2 playoff games. And dude, I don't know. A lot of people are pissed off when you have these losing teams win the divisions and they get the home playoff game the first round. Everybody's like, oh, they should never get a home playoff game. But I just like hearing people bitch and all the chaos because I mean, you win your division. I mean, it's the right to host a game. I mean, I think that's a good enough incentive to win the division. Otherwise, what's the incentive to win it? I mean, if you don't make the division winner have something to play for, if it's just about records only, then you get into stuff like you have in the NBA and other sports leagues, but primarily the NBA, where they kick their feet up and take plays off. They sit guys. The last 10 games don't mean anything. And the NFL, you can't really afford to have that happen because, I mean, they only have a certain subset of games. I think the format with the division winners have to get the playoff game at home is still good. And I mean, if they come in there at 5-12, see, I get the 17 already. If they come in there at 5-12, I think they ought to get a home playoff game. And if they don't like them, fuck them.
I mean, you're right. I mean, yeah, exactly. Win your division.
Yeah. Agreed.
Did y'all see the extension? Speaking of Seattle, did you see the extension that Tyler Lockett got?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Holy shit, dude. 4-year extension, $37 million guaranteed, and the contract is $69.2.
Money well spent?
No, not at all. Not
He's
at
a good
all.
player. He's good, but they don't utilize him.
No, they did not utilize him for shit last year, man.
Thank you.
That's
exactly right.
He's a great player. He's
a good player.
Yes, absolutely. But man, $69.2 million for 4 years. How much cap space did that take up? I mean, I don't know, man. That doesn't seem like a very good spending move.
They're paying him DeAndre Hopkins money for A.J. Brown production.
Yes.
And that's not a good idea.
No, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, who's their running back? Kaysen? Is that right? Who's their running back?
You're chopping up a little bit.
Who is the running back?
Carson.
Chris Carson.
Oh, Chris Carson.
Chris Carson. And I'm not sold on him, but
no.
Look, man, my take on the Seahawks is they've got a lot of things in front of wide receivers that they need to take care of. And if they're going to blow that money on that position and a guy who, I mean, in his own right is an effective player, but they don't feature him in the offense. And Russell Wilson is still running for his life. They don't really have a strong running game. They do this thing now every year where they have like 2 or 3 guys sharing snaps in the backfield, and they change cast characters every single year. They had Pro Size a couple years ago, and then they had there was another guy that was in there. It was taking snaps away. I can't remember. And then Marshawn Lynch came back for a few games, but I mean, they don't really have an identity in the offense. I don't feel like. I mean, they're a good team that wins some games, but I don't think that their offense goes through T.J. Lockett, and I don't believe that they should give them the DeAndre Hopkins money. You don't ever pay a player a huge contract for what he could be. You pay him for what he is and what he has done, and in most cases, unless it's a sure thing, I mean, how do you tie up almost $20 million a year on a receiver you don't throw the ball to? I mean, DK Metcalf gets more action than he does, by far.
Absolutely, dude. He had a breakout year last year. I mean, he dominated, man. He took over that team, and he had his stats have to be further than Tyler Lockett this past year. Am I right?
And he's on a higher trajectory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What's his stat? Is anybody looking at his stats? Miles, is that what you're doing?
I am.
I gotta say, man, though, I mean, if you're gonna pay that money, I'd say left tackle, or trade for a tackle, or get some offensive line pieces, or something to where everything else kind of branches out off that. You can't have a running game without a line. You can't have Russell Wilson upright without a line. They need to spend the money on that. To hell with Tyler Lockett. I mean, if he's going to play out his contract, cool. I mean, just go draft another receiver. The last couple of drafts have been full of receivers. You definitely don't need to.
And this year's going to be another one of them.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, they're almost identical.
Really?
Yeah, DK has just about 250 more yards, but Tyler had 100 receptions. Metcalf had 83 receptions. Both of them had 10 touchdowns. So they're almost identical.
I don't know. Maybe he's just Metcalf had more of the clutch moments.
Yeah.
And DK's not on a second contract.
True.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Tyler Lockett is sneaky good. Like I mean, he's not like obviously he's not worth the money that he's getting paid, but he's not. I mean, there's plenty of teams that would love to have him on.
Oh, absolutely. I wish Titans could get him.
But I still stand by the comments that we've all shared that I don't feel like he's. Even though he's had a 10 touchdown, 1,000-yard season, I feel like it could have been more. I mean, he could have been utilized more.
I agree.
Sometimes these deals are a product of other deals that have happened, and this is a weird year for receiver. And you look at Davis that came from the Titans.
Yes.
Corey Davis. He signed with the Jets for $13 million a year. Corey Davis is like a good number 2 receiver. I wouldn't even say he's great. I'd say probably a Juju Smith-Schuster would be over him in my estimation as far as what he's capable of and production and all that. And he got $13 million a year. So maybe Lockett's agent said, well, if he got 13, we should at least get 16 or 17 and just happen to catch it at the right time. But even weirder is the fact that Cap went down this year and they negotiated this contract. So it could also be another one of these phantom deals where some of these years are fake and voidable and they're just kind of spreading it out to absorb the cap hit. But for a player like that, it would still be kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, I get that, some of the years may be non-existent. However, the 37 guaranteed.
That's a lot of money.
That's over half his contract.
Yeah, that's basically saying you're going to keep it at least 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, it's a very heavy draft with receivers, but it's also a very heavy draft in the past couple of weeks, according to the people at ESPN, all of those other fucking places. This is going to be a huge quarterback draft.
Suddenly,
yeah.
So a lot of people are saying the whole trade that went down between Miami and San Francisco is so that San Francisco moving up to the 3rd pick overall to get Matt Wilson. Excuse me. Is it Zach or Matt?
I think it's Zach.
Zach Wilson is just one of them. The other guy is Matt Jones. Is that it?
Jones.
Mac Jones is who I'm thinking of. Yes, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Who's this? That's who, right? The 3rd pick they're saying. Zach Wilson's the 2nd. Mac Jones is the 3rd. Is that right?
This is the only bit of pre-show prep I did, was kind of looking at these QBs. Hold on. Let's say the first ranked is obviously Trevor, and then it goes Justin Fields, then Zach Wilson out of BYU,
Zach Wilson, that's what I was talking about. Because they made that trade after his pro day had finished.
There's this controversy now that a kid out of North Dakota State, Trey Lance,
they have him ranked 4, dude. They have him ranked 4th.
Mac Jones.
They have him above. The NFL Network. That's what they got him at. They got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones, and they're talking about them all going in the first 10 picks.
Kuiper has a Lance over Jones as well. Honestly, I have to disagree with the scouts on this one. I'm just as qualified as they are, obviously. But Mac Jones played against SEC competition and only SEC competition the entire year, and he had one of the best seasons an Alabama quarterback has ever had. And I know Alabama quarterbacks traditionally, but if we're going to go by North Dakota State quarterbacks traditionally, Carson Wentz is on his second team. So,
no, you're absolutely right.
I would say Mac Jones is probably going to be better than Trey Lance, but it's a crapshoot. It's the NFL draft. The only one who really looks like a sure thing in this draft, I know everyone's saying this is a QB-heavy draft, but usually that means there's 2 or 3 sure-looking things. There's only one sure-looking thing, and that's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, we all know that Jacksonville's getting Trevor Lawrence. I mean, after his pro day, Urban Meyer didn't even show up anywhere else. You know, a lot of teams still have people representing them. The Jags didn't have anybody representing them on like 2 of the last 3 quarterbacks pro days. They don't
think
get
that's a good idea?
What's that?
You think that's a good idea?
I mean, in a way I do, but in a way I don't. You know, the way that I do is that you're showing your quarterback that you have the utmost confidence in him and that you're betting everything on him. And Urban Meyer is betting everything on Trevor Lawrence. That's it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with him doing that because Trevor Lawrence, as great as he looks in college, I don't care, man. I don't care how great you look in college. I want to see what you do in the NFL because there's been way too many great college quarterbacks coming in the NFL and suck. Mm-hmm. It's the ones, going a little bit against what you said, Cyrus. The thing about a lot of these quarterbacks that are number 1 quarterbacks now, how many of them actually came from the SEC? I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Not many.
That's true.
So, you know, I don't know. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to be better than Trey Lawrence. I mean, honestly, I have to, you know, feign ignorance because I don't know enough about these guys or their careers to make any kind of judgment call on it.
Saying this past year was a bit of a weird year because usually Alabama gets those 2-3 games a year where the quarterback gets to look like a god against Mercer or Vol State University or whoever they play against with these SES schools.
Southern Louisiana.
Yeah. But like also the last time a draft was this quote unquote QB heavy, I want to say it was 2018, the Rosen draft, the Watts where it was all that talent in the first round. Rosen, then Darnold. Was that 2018 or 17?
I think it was 18.
I think it was 18. Yeah.
And who's really, you know, they said that was a bunch of first round talent. Who's been the big success story from that draft?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, now, but not at first.
And even at first, people were saying he's a bust. So that's the last, and then the last draft before that to be big in QB talent was probably the Watson Trubisky draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then only 2 quarterbacks worked out there, and that was Watson and Mahomes.
Yeah, I think anytime that you have 5 or sometimes 6 first-round quarterbacks in a draft, I mean, you usually have maybe half of those that turn out. I mean, a couple of them that I go back to is the year Cam Newton came out. This is 2011, and you had him, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, I mean, how many of those names are still putting around? And then there was somebody else later on. I think that was the draft that the Browns took. Was the older guy? He was like in his 30s when he got drafted.
Oh yeah,
and like they were the only group of people on the planet that thought he was a first round pick.
he was baseball.
Brandon Wheat. So that draft, you had four guys that really shouldn't have started or really backed up for most teams that go in the first round. And it's going to be the same this year. The only problem is this year, because there's so much hype and so much, I don't know what you want to call it, around the first 4 or 5 picks. Like everybody's just gunning for it. They're going to take all these guys off the board before like the 6th or 7th pick of the draft. They're not going to be spread out at all, at least from what everybody's saying. So draft night could be a surprise. I think it's more the hype factor this year of the quarterbacks, and that everybody is really kind of behind a lot of these guys. It's not just like, okay, we have to take a quarterback in the first round or he won't be there in the second round for us to get him. It's like, okay, we have to take a quarterback in the top 5 or 6 picks, or there's not going to be anybody worth getting for probably a few rounds.
And then I watch college football. Now, granted, I don't know all the names of the players like I do the NFL. I just don't. But I do keep up with college football. And I have never heard of Zach Wilson until just a few days ago.
Same here.
Like BYU is.
Who the hell does BYU play? I don't watch their conference.
No one.
You know? No,
I'm with you.
However, it's, the way what Cyrus was just saying about the 2018 draft, I never heard of Josh Allen because I don't watch Wyoming play football either. So, and I live in Colorado. So it's, I could see this Zach Wilson coming out and being some kind of stud. I really could. I mean, he has a late amount of hype.
Yeah, and until he had his pro day, and then he blew up, and that's when San Francisco made that trade. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I've heard Justin Fields has lost some gone down from number 3 to less than that. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Why is that?
I don't know. I guess there's people that are second guessing. I mean, I thought he did okay. What didn't he only play 2 years though, or something? Was that? Did he play 3?
Only about.
What'd you say, Cyrus?
Most of them usually don't only play 2 or 3.
I thought you had. When I heard that, I was confused because I thought you had to play 3.
I think it's. Only,
I have no idea.
I think the official
rule was 3 too. Go ahead.
You have to be out of high school for 2 years. Technically, you don't have to play any college ball to be drafted.
Right.
You just have to be out of high school for 2 years. I think that's the official NFL.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I do too. It's the Maurice Claret rule thing that went into place years ago.
So, I don't know. Ohio State faces some decent college football teams and defenses, Clemson, and I don't know. So. But
well, one more thing I'll kind of point out is that the teams at the top of the draft this year, probably better than any year I can remember, are behind the scenes and they're selling high on these picks. They're part of the PR machine that's pumping up these quarterbacks. Like you guys were talking about, the BYU quarterback nobody's really heard of until a little bit ago. They're part of fanning the flames to try to get people to move up. I mean, in years where there's quarterback names out there, these teams in the top 5, top 10 picks want these guys to be big names, even if they're not going to draft them, so that they could sell this to another team and move down and get a big bunch of picks. Like, so who made that trade the other day? Was it the Dolphins that traded down from 3? Yeah.
They traded down. All right, so they traded down from 3 to 12, and then they traded that pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then they moved back up to pick 6.
Yeah, and so they're a big part of this as well, because they were selling the fact that, well, one of these guys could be good enough that we might draft him and get rid of Tua, and so they were able to then kind of leverage themselves for maximum return, and they get out of that, then come back up. So, I mean, it's really a big sell job from those guys as much as it is the talent. So I wouldn't believe so much the fact that this is one of the best quarterback drafts. It could be, but we have no idea.
No, and we won't know. We won't know for years to come.
True.
So,
who I would be really excited about if I was this draft? Who I would be if I was a team that didn't need a quarterback?
Yeah,
I would be psyched.
Hell yeah, because the number 6 pick, you could get anybody you wanted.
Well, even teams in the late teens and early 20s now get a selection of top 10 talent at other positions.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a couple of good wide receivers coming out.
You're going to have second round talent. That's top 10 talent because everyone's going to be wanting a quarterback. Even though, really, on paper, it looks like this is a strong QB draft, but on paper, this looks weaker to me than the Mariota Winston draft, other than Trevor Lawrence.
I agree. I mean, maybe it's not so much that it's weak, but it's just that I'm not familiar with it, familiar with them, because I didn't hear shit about them during this last season. But I mean, it was a weird season too. So I mean,
odd year.
Well, obviously, half the games didn't get played, and I don't know. A lot of people are going based off of what had happened years before. So I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe that Trey Lance will be a stud. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's probably not going to be Mac Jones, Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence. They're probably not going to. There's been so much about those three. Who knows? Maybe not.
Considering it was me crap talking Trey Lance, he's going to be a big superstar because I got Mahomes wrong. So every QB I talk about turns into gold. So it's fine.
Another thing, real quick, before we move on, I want to throw in the fact that there's some guys out there that could probably get moved on draft day. If you think about some quarterbacks that have been drafted high that haven't got a chance to play, I'm actually thinking about the guy that went to Green Bay. Is it Jordan Love? I mean, he could probably get moved. If somebody wanted to offer some picks, or Garoppolo's another one since they moved up. You could have some veteran guys or some rookies who haven't played much yet get moved for bargain basement price if there's a team that's up there that wants to do that deal. I think it's going to be a lot of draft day trades and more players than picks this year than you're used to seeing.
Donald's going to get traded day one.
That's what I wanted to bring up about was Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you really, because the 49ers come out and said he's here to say he's our guy this year, blah blah, whatever. Do you really think that's true? To make this kind of move to get into the third overall pick, I don't feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is your guy.
Not the guy forever, anyway.
Well, I mean, Jimmy is here to stay, is what the source of the 49ers told Schefter. He's our guy this year.
You think they just draft a guy to compete with him?
No, they're going to get rid of him. I mean, he's their guy for this year. So, at best, he'll play out this year and kind of mentor whoever, Zach Wilson.
That's what I was about to say. Surely they're not smart enough to let him mentor somebody for a year. I mean, in this era of just throw them in as soon as you fucking can.
I don't agree with that. At first I kind of did, and we talked about this a few episodes ago. Miles, you made the great point of they need to sit. They need to learn the game. When you just throw them in there, but some, I don't know. I'm kind of torn between that. Here I am just contradicting myself in the same paragraph that I'm talking. Obviously, yeah, because I do it quite well, effortlessly. But the thing is, with Burrow, what were you supposed to do?
No, there's definitely a case can be made, and a case can be made that there are certain players that are able to do that. Burrow being one of them. I mean, a guy like with his production in college and the way he played in the SEC against defenses that are grown men. I mean, there's an argument to be made he could be thrown in there and do okay. But, I would say the majority of them are not. That's not the case.
See, I feel that way about Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if he's ready. I don't want them to throw him right in there. I don't want him to get hurt really fast because just no.
I think Jacksonville would actually have been wise, and I think they burned that bridge a little bit already. They'd be wise to keep Minshew around.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
he's not that bad of a backup to have, I wouldn't think.
Honestly, Gardner, when he was given time people are always like, he doesn't have an arm, really. But, he can't throw that far, but he can throw pretty accurately, all things considered. But, when they let him play last year, they pulled him immediately because he was too good. They literally basically pulled him for the tank.
Yeah, they went back and forth a lot last year. I don't think they ever had any inclinations of wanting to win. But you know what I would have liked to see them do What I think what the smart play would have been is to go out this year and try to get a guy into your organization who could play and win some games. Like a Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think would have been really good. And Fitzpatrick would have come in for cheap. You probably could have got him for like, you could have got like $7 to $10 million a year for Fitzpatrick on a 1-year deal. He goes to Florida where all the other old people are, gets to hang out, get some sunshine, drive around and get off my lawn and all that stuff that old people do. And then also you get Trevor Lawrence in, and Fitzpatrick, he got cucked last year. Like, what's the difference? He's going to do it again wherever he goes. I mean, he would have been a good guy to kind of have there to right the ship. But then you don't put all that pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and you don't break him. Like we've talked about before with all these other quarterbacks that come in and they get thrown in there early. If they get gun shy, man, they take 70 sacks that rookie season, and they're constantly, kind of checking down to try to keep from dying. I don't think that that's really how you want to bring a guy into the league. You want to give him a little bit more of a chance to succeed than to just be, hey, we didn't win because this guy sucks. We've lost 7 games in a row because he came out of college, and who the hell is he? That's exactly what happens to these guys when they don't start out and they're just complete home runs right away.
They get drafted and they get called the next Jake Locker, even though the offensive line was paper mache.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Fitzpatrick, if he would have went to Jacksonville, that would have been the trifecta. All of the Florida teams he would have started for as a quarterback. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah, I think he's up to 10 teams now.
Yeah. Started, no less.
Yeah. He's
at some point or another, he has started for every team he's played for.
I'm pretty sure he started in
Nashville. But he just signed a new contract with somebody he hasn't been with yet.
Washington.
Yeah. He never played there. So we don't know if he's starting there yet.
Oh, he will.
Well.
Fitzpatrick was the placeholder guy for a lot of teams. Like, I think the year we tanked for Marcus was the year that we started Brian Fitzpatrick a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Tank for Marcus. No. He was there with Jake Locker. Locker came in 11, so it would have been like 2 years. It would have been 13. It was Munchak's last year. But yeah, we basically were terrible that year too, though. It's all the same.
My goodness, the Titans are bad in the 2010s. Moving on.
It was rough.
So, all right, I believe, I don't know if both y'all disagree with me on an episode, or if it was just Mike that disagreed with me on an episode, or if it was just Miles. However, the Bucs re-signed Leonard Fournette and therefore have done something that no Super Bowl winning team has ever done. They have brought back all 22 starters on their roster of their Super Bowl team.
I'm shocked and awed. I can't believe that they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Tom Brady restructured his deal, whatnot. I'm sure Rob, what did Rob re-sign for? I don't even know what his contract was. I'm sure he doesn't give a shit about the money.
Even pre-free agency?
What's that?
Like, the first team in the Super Bowl era to maintain all 22 stars, even pre-free agency?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. Because, I mean, that would make, like, how did, like, the 77 Steelers not keep all 22 starters? Or,
I mean, yeah, it's probably post-free agency.
That's crazy.
But still, I mean, it's tough to do. I think, hey, man, kudos to them for doing it. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go because you want to improve your team. And guys, of a certain age, not going to name a lot of names, but half the roster is kind of on the backside. And they're declining year after year, whether they want to or not. I think that they probably should have left some spots open to try to get some guys in there and be competitive and maybe replace some of those guys. Maybe they're going to do that anyway. But I don't know, man. It's – To me, all those old players on your roster, you're kind of asking for it, and they could get hit with the injury bug, man. It reminds me of the Vikings. Remember that one year they had Favre? They were awesome, and they were like a game short of the Super Bowl and the interception, and this is not Detroit and all that. And then the next year, they were just complete shit. And it had most of the same players back, but they fell apart. I don't think it's a recipe to win, and I really don't feel like they were a Super Bowl team all year this last year. So I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I know. I absolutely agree with you.
Good they were.
Well, their defense really blew it out of the water.
Yeah, I agree.
I was making jokes before the season that it was the 2013 Pro Bowl team, and then and then the 2013 Pro Bowl team won the 2020 Super Bowl. So I don't know.
That's about the truth of it right there. No shit, that really is.
Dude, fun fact. We may have covered that on here already, but the last two Super Bowl winning teams, which is the Bucks and the Chiefs, LaShawn McCoy was on both rosters, and he played a total of 3 games. Played in a total of 3 games for both teams. He got a ring both years.
Wow,
Good for Shane.
I did not know that.
Yep.
That's the way to do
awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
In 2 different conferences, no less.
Yeah.
Right.
Shady. That's why they call him Shady.
That's right.
That's a shady way to get some rings. Lurk in the chat.
That's the shady way. So, when is the actual draft? Was it April? Cyrus, you know that, don't you?
The draft, I believe, is early April. I want to say April 6th. It's really soon. Like,
no shit. That'd be next week.
Like, it's
Wow.
in a couple weeks.
Oh, no, it's the 29th.
Oh, wow. How the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you're
read
way
that
off.
wrong. I'm dumb.
I think it usually is early April. I wonder why maybe it got pushed back for some reason.
COVID.
Yeah, probably.
Sure had something to do with it.
It's like I'm used to it happening around the early first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then I realized those got pushed back too. So
You know, this game season is going to have an effect on everything too. It's going to it's going to be an 18-week season now because you have the bye week, and then the playoffs, and you may wind up with a Super Bowl that's kind of like they were talking about today on Pro Football Talk about how it could potentially be on like President's Day, like that President's Day weekend, you know, that Sunday before. So I mean that's pretty late. That's like halfway through February. Although that would be kind of cool to see it. You know, it would kind of make the football game itself more of a holiday with everybody or anybody who works for a bank getting off that Monday and kind of being able to kind of have that hangover day. I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry. I really just picked up halfway through that whole conversation.
I get that a lot. My wife does that to me.
No. I was staring at you and I was like, yes, I'm paying attention. Then all of a
Does that
sudden I was like, no, I'm not paying attention. All I heard was something about a bank holiday and moving the Super Bowl. Is that what you said? Move the Super Bowl?
Yeah, no, it's the way that the season now goes, with it being 18 weeks now and the bye week included, which makes it 18. It pushes everything forward a week. So right now, if the Super Bowl is like the first week of February, it goes to the second week. And the second week of February, it could be that Sunday before President's Day. So potentially, it's like a 3-day weekend with the Super Bowl kind of popped right in the middle. Which
I thought they were just taking away one of the preseason games, and therefore it would still be on the same timeline.
They still have to have 18. Well, I mean, if they do that, I guess maybe, but
that's the only thing that really makes sense. If to keep the playoffs the way that they are, you would have to just cut out one of the preseason games and start the season a week earlier.
I think they should count all the preseason games because I didn't miss them this year.
No. There's no need for that. There's no need to count those. Those are shit. Those are so boring.
I hate them. But the amount of injuries in the first couple of weeks, I hated that too.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I would just play 2 weeks of the preseason.
Yep.
You don't need a full 4 weeks. That's a nightmare. Who needs a month of preseason? But we do need about 2 weeks or so.
I mean, 2 weeks, get together, let's go.
Yep. Have two games. Play your starters for the first half of the first game. Then after that, do whatever you need to do to figure out your rest of your roster. Sit your starters. Figure out the rest of the roster. Move on. We don't need 4 preseason games or 3 preseason games. We only need 2.
And if they're really worried about the conditioning aspect, maybe just expand training camp by a week.
Yes, for Christ's sake, yes. I agree with that. No, they would.
Well, of course, the players' union would shut that down in an instinct. But you give the players' union a choice. You get 2 less preseason games or an added week of training camp. It's up to y'all.
Yeah, they would take the preseason games. They would go back to the 4 because they get a big piece of that revenue too. So that's really the whole problem, is that now that the whole thing was started around 4 preseason games because they wanted the extra preseason games when they went from 14 games to 16 games back in '78. So now with the 4 preseason games, you have ticket sales for the 4, and they make the goddamn season ticket holders buy those games, which is, I think, horseshit. So they have to buy at least 2 of them. And so that revenue now goes back to the players, the owners, and everybody wants to keep the money. So the money, there's no money in the cure, as they say. To get rid of those 2 games kind of pulls money out of their pocket, and they don't want to do that. But in a just world, that's exactly what would happen.
I can't believe they make season ticket holders pay for preseason games. That's lovely.
Oh, it's awful. It's punishment, man. It's like going to your nephew's, sister's, cousin's like flute recital. It's like, God, I know I have to go, but like I don't want to be here. I can't wait to leave. Like that, the first time I can sneak out, nobody notices I'm leaving. I am fucking gone, and nobody wants to do that. It's just horrible.
No, it is. You know,
it's basically just a stadium tour.
Yeah, exactly.
It's slightly, you know, it's slightly exciting because you know the season's coming. You know, it kind of gets you ready, but it should be like at the most half the price of a ticket for, you know, and only sell them to like, I don't know, poor people that don't get to go to
everything
games.
about it sucks. It's the broadcast. They don't even let the networks, for the most part, do the broadcast. They make the local stations get the broadcast. You get the guys that can't get the fucking weather right out there calling wrong names on the jersey. And then all the time in the third quarter, when they bring in all the scrubs that aren't going to make any team, let alone this team, you can listen to these guys try to fill and talk. And, oh, man, I can't believe the other day I accidentally bought the wrong tamale. And it's like, I mean, it's unwatchable. Hot garbage all the way around. They need to come up with something to, if even you're going to keep the 2, to make it entertaining. Like add something into it that you don't normally do, and take it away from all these amateurs, man. There's so much. I mean, you have people's energy basically. Like you're saying, you're waiting for the season to start. Do something with that. After the first quarter, I'm like, yeah, I got enough of this. This is terrible.
Yeah, I'm with you because, you know, 9 times out of 10, the starters are already sat halfway through the first quarter.
Yep.
You know, very rarely do you have starters go throughout, you know, through a whole half, much less a quarter. So
they'll play like a series.
Exactly. You know, sometimes the first game they usually play a few series, and then after that they're good. And then, you know, so what? You know what? I won't take this back. I won't take back what I said earlier. Let's just do away with the preseason. Let's just say, fuck it, man. I mean, what's the point?
I mean, the training. I actually got to go to back in the before times when they allowed people at public events. I went to the 2019 training camp where I think they had the Bucks in town. No, it was the Patriots. It was the last year Brady was there. They had the Patriots in town for training camp, and they did a scrimmage. It was basically just the same thing as a preseason game.
You know what they should do? I just got an idea. If they just did training camp, but actually make it kind of like a blue and gold scrimmage or something, like, you know, where
Tyrus just said.
Yeah, I think you could sell tickets to that. Then you could have 32 home games at a time, and people. I think I would rather go see that. I'd rather go see the 1s versus the 2s, and kind of it's almost like the inmates playing the warden team kind of thing. I think that would be. There's something to this, guys. We can do this.
Turn it into a social event, like what all the high school do. I can't talk. What all the high schools do with their spring games, like have inflatables out and make it a kids thing for the kids clubs of the league or whatever.
There you go.
I don't know. It sounds like a good time if you're into that sort of thing.
Hey man, I'm into the brainstorming here.
If you're into watching 4th string tight ends play practice games,
dude, how about the contest winners get to go in there and fair catch a punt or something? You know, like get some fans in the game.
Yeah, but if you but there's no fair catch.
Some overanxious special teamer trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
Don't go prove his point.
Guys like
that. Tell them the wrong move. Like, no, when we do fair catch here, you got to do it this way. And put your hands, out like you're going to catch it. That's how you call, a fair catch. You just got to catch it. And it's just watching your level.
It's like the whole sign,
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, ASL. Yeah, yeah. Well, man, I get anything else y'all really want to touch on? Because I really think that's just about it.
I think that is.
I got nothing.
4 guys in a football.
4 guys in a football. Y'all take it easy. We'll talk to y'all next time.
All right.
All right.